João Pessoa, is it the cheapest and best city in Brazil? Well, a lot of people think so, and it's actually one of the fastest growing cities in Brazil. So this city is in the northeast of Brazil, and it's the capital of the state of Paraíba, and it has a population of 880,000 inhabitants, and it's located in between the cities of Recife and Natal. So it's about a 2 hour drive to Recife and a 2.5 hour drive to Natal. And this is a coastal city with lots of really nice beaches. And actually, some people call it the Brazilian Miami because of these nice beaches, and also because the city now has loads of modern high rise buildings. So, one of the main attractions and reasons why this city is growing so rapidly is the fact that it's got so many really nice beaches. The main beaches near the city are Praia de Tambau, Praia de Manaíra, and also Praia de Cabo Branco. And these are really nice beaches. The sand is white, the water is pretty warm and crystal clear as well. But because these beaches are near the city, they can get very busy. And so when I was there, I actually preferred going to Praia de Bessa, which is slightly further away to the north, but it's calmer and has less people. And another popular attraction are the coral reefs and also the natural pools, which are located just a bit further out into the ocean. So you need to take a boat to get there. It's about a 15-minute trip. And people can do some snorkeling and swimming around there, and there's lots of fish. And it's a really nice and cool thing to do. And then another boat trip you can do is you can go to the Ilha de Areia Vermelha. This is a small island, again out in the ocean. It's just made up of red sand. It takes about half an hour to get there by boat. And again, people can swim around there, and they've got coral reefs as well. And actually, when the tide rises, the island disappears under the water. So these are two very popular trips that lots of people do when they're in João Pessoa. But it isn't just really nice beaches that João Pessoa has. It also has lots of parks. And that's actually been called the most green city in Brazil. So one of the biggest parks in the city is called Mata do Buraquinho, or Jardim Botânico Benjamin Maranhão. And this is in the middle of the city, and it's 520 hectares of tropical forest. And this is very beautiful and also very unusual to have such a big forest in an actual city. And then there's lots of other smaller parks like Parque de Lagoa, which are also really nice. And then you've got two rivers as well in the city. So you've got Rio Jaguaribe and also Rio Sanhawa, which also make the city very green and picturesque. And then another aspect of the city, which I think is very nice, is all the history as well. So this is a very old city, dates back to the 1500s, and the city still has lots of its historical buildings in the old city center. And then also the city has, a bit further away, a fortress called Forte de Santa Catarina. So this was built in the 1500s by the Portuguese to defend the city against attack, because in the 1500s and 1600s there was lots of conflicts. So the French attacked, the Dutch as well, and the Dutch actually captured the city for a while before the Portuguese got it back. And so there's a lot of history to the city, and you can still see this in a lot of the buildings. And another reason why lots of people like the city is because it's fairly well organized with good infrastructure. So it's got good public schools and hospitals, and also lots of private ones as well. It's got lots of universities as well, with good reviews, the big one being Universidade Federal, and also the roads and public transport are pretty good. There's even a train running through the city, which isn't that common in Brazil. There's lots of cities in Brazil with no train network at all. And then lots of shopping malls, the big one being Manaíra Shopping. And there's lots of bars, restaurants, theatre as well. And comparing João Pessoa to some other cities in the north, so Natal, Recife, Fortaleza, my impression of João Pessoa was that it's a bit more organized with slightly better infrastructure compared to these other cities. However, João Pessoa is growing very quickly. Lots of new big apartment buildings are being built, so the population is growing rapidly. And lots of the locals, they're worried about this, whether the infrastructure can cope with this increase in size. And when I was there, some were saying that in the past there were no traffic jams at all. Now there are some traffic jams. I mean, it's nothing compared to traffic in Florianopolis or Sao Paulo or Rio de Janeiro, but still things are changing a bit. So I guess you've got some questions about whether the infrastructure will actually keep up and cope with the city growing so quickly. Another very positive thing, I guess for some it's not, but for me personally is, and that's the fact that the climate is a tropical climate and the city is basically warm the whole year. So in summertime the temperatures can go up to 35 degrees Celsius, and in winter it can fall down to like 20 degrees, sometimes slightly lower than that. I read that the lowest temperature ever recorded in the city was 16 degrees, and that was like 90 years ago or something. So you don't have a cold winter or anything. However, it does rain a fair bit, especially between April and August. So kind of autumn winter time. So there's a fair bit of rain, and also it's very humid. I mean, I personally see this as something positive, because I do not like cold winters. Where I live in the south of Brazil, the winters aren't that cold when you compare it to Sweden, but still the temperatures can fall down to like 5 degrees Celsius in winter. And for me personally, I would prefer not to have any cold months like João Pessoa has. But that's just my personal opinion. And then in terms of the economy of João Pessoa, so GDP per capita is 26,000 reais, which is relatively low. So if you like compare it to Florianopolis, that's 45,000 reais, and Sao Paulo is 66,000 reais. But you generally see that in the northeast of Brazil. So this region here is less wealthy than further south in Brazil. So one of the big sectors in João Pessoa's economy is tourism. So it attracts lots and lots of tourists because of all the nice beaches. And then also commerce and services, again, kind of connected to tourism. But the city also does have manufacturing and technology industry, which also contributes to the city's economy. So I would say that the job opportunities in João Pessoa are okay. But if you're someone who's searching for, a senior high-paid job, you'll find a lot more positions in Sao Paulo. It'll probably be a lot more difficult to find something like that in João Pessoa. And in terms of crime, so João Pessoa compared to the other cities in the northeast has relatively low crime. So if you look at homicide, João Pessoa has a homicide rate of 23 per 100,000 inhabitants, which compares favorably to other cities in the north. So you've got the city of Fortaleza, where the homicide rate is 45 per 100,000. Then you've got Salvador, which is 55 per 100,000. So you can see João Pessoa has a significantly lower homicide rate compared to these cities. But if you compare it to some of the cities further south, like Florianopolis, for example, there the rate is 9 per 100,000. So definitely cities in Brazil with a lower rate, but João Pessoa's rate is relatively low when you compare it to other nearby cities. What I would say is that my perception of crime in João Pessoa when I was there is that I felt relatively safe walking around. Now, obviously, I stayed in the more safer, affluent neighborhoods. I didn't start walking around the whole city. But in the areas that I stayed in, I felt very safe. And when I compare it to some of the other cities in the north, I would say that I felt safer in João Pessoa compared to these other cities. And then let's talk about the cost of living in João Pessoa. So a lot of people say it's one of the cheapest cities in Brazil. No, I don't know about that. But what I can say is if you look at the cost of groceries, cost of going out to restaurants and bars, cost of rent as well, then yes, João Pessoa definitely is cheaper compared to Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, Florianopolis, that's for sure. So you can go to a restaurant in João Pessoa and you can eat well for like 20, 30 reais per person. So that's like $4 to $6. And in general, if you want to eat lunch in Sao Paulo or Florianopolis, you're going to spend more than that. Obviously, it depends a lot on which restaurant and area you're in. So I mean, there are some cheap restaurants also in Florianopolis and Sao Paulo, but I would say in general it's cheaper in João Pessoa. Now, in terms of groceries, there I didn't notice a massive difference. I mean, I would say it's slightly cheaper in João Pessoa, but not a major difference. But then in terms of rent, yes, their rent and buying a property in João Pessoa is significantly cheaper than Florianopolis, Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, that's for sure. So if you look at this website here, which shows you the cost of property in a lot of the cities in Brazil, and if we go down here, we can see João Pessoa, and this is showing that the cost per square meter of property in João Pessoa is 6,300 reais. And that is significantly lower than some other cities. So if you look at Sao Paulo, for example, it's 9,200 reais. And Florianopolis is 9,700 reais. So if you look at the cost per square meter, João Pessoa is significantly cheaper. And then also what you can do with this website is that if you click on João Pessoa, it shows you the cost per square meter for all the neighborhoods in the city. And so the most expensive neighborhoods are near the nice beaches. So you've got Cabo Branco, where the cost per square meter is 8,900 reais. Then you've got Tambaú, which is 7,500 reais per square meter. And then Jardim Oceana, which is 7,600. But I would also say that Alto Plano, Cabo Branco, and Manaíra as well are very good neighborhoods and quite expensive as well, which this isn't really showing here, but when I was there, that's the impression I got. So let's just have a look at some individual apartments to buy and rent, just to show you the prices. So let's choose Cabo Branco, this yellow area here. So we've got Cabo Branco here, and I'll choose 2-bedroom apartments. Let's start by looking at the cost to buy. So here you've got 2-bedroom apartments, 60 square meters, 480,000 reais, which is $80,000. Got another one here for 440,000 reais, so $75,000. But you do have some more expensive ones. This one here is bigger, so it's 76 square meters. This is 650,000 reais, which is $108,000. So you can kind of see the price range here between $80,000 and $110,000. But it all depends on the size of the apartment, if it's new, if it's got a view of the beach and the ocean. And you have to remember, this is in one of the nicest neighborhoods in João Pessoa. If I were to choose other neighborhoods, then it'd be even cheaper. And yeah, you couldn't get a 2-bedroom apartment in one of the nicest neighborhoods in Florianopolis for this kind of money. You'd pay significantly more than that. And if we look at rent, so let's stay in Cabo Branco, again, 2-bedroom apartments for rent. So here its cost is 3,800 reais per month, which is $630. Then you got 3,500 reais per month, which is $580 per month. So you can see here, you've got even cheaper here. I mean, it all depends on the sizes. A very small one, 44 square meters. You can see here, it's all around the 3,000 reais in this neighborhood. And again, if you were to go to slightly less affluent neighborhoods, it would be even cheaper than that. And then if you compare that to Florianopolis, for example, there you'd struggle to find a 2-bedroom apartment in the nicest neighborhoods there for the same amount of money. Although I would say that rental prices are increasing significantly in João Pessoa. So with more and more people moving to it and demand increasing, prices are going up. So I mean, just a couple of years ago, you would have spent a lot less on rent. So rent is definitely increasing. But there still is a notable difference between João Pessoa and other cities like Florianopolis and Sao Paulo. Okay, so that's João Pessoa. So I mean, I personally really like the city. I think the combination of really nice beaches, a nice hot climate, and being fairly organized and relatively low crime is a really nice combination. And you can see how fast it's growing, that a lot and lots of people think the same way. I guess my only reservation about the city is how well it's going to cope as it continues to grow? Will the infrastructure, so the schools, hospitals, and roads and all of this keep up with the growth in population? Or will that start to cause some problems and we'll start to see some deterioration in some of the services? So I hope you like this video. Please leave a like, subscribe. If you've got any questions or anything, leave in the commentary below. So thanks for watching. Until next time.